Hey y'all, welcome back to our channel. I'm Angie and this is Our Contented Home. In today's video, I'm just gonna talk with y'all for a few minutes on tips for styling thrifted items. And I'm just gonna go through some of the things that I look for when I'm thrifting. And I've had a lot of questions lately because I have been doing a lot of thrifting videos, and I can tell that a lot of y'all are very passionate about thrifting, and some of y'all are extremely overwhelmed with thrifting. You don't know where to start, and I do have a free ebook on my blog, and it's called 5 Ways to Become a Thrifting Pro. It's completely free, and I've put a link in the description box below that you can click on and you can get that free resource. So what my free ebook is it's just tips that I've learned through the years of thrifting, because when I first started thrifting, I was overwhelmed too, and I didn't know how to get from point A to point B, but I just kept working at it because I knew that I wanted to decorate my home, and I wanted to do that on a budget. And a thrift store is one of the best places to do that, but you just need to know what to look for and what to do when you get those items home. So let's get started with the video, and I sure hope these tips help you. So one of the first things that I look for when I'm at the thrift store are saucers and plates. And what I do with those are the saucers, I use those under my flower pots, and I thrift a lot of my flower pots, and we'll get to that in a minute. But sometimes they do not come with the saucers on the bottom of them, and so I will find pretty saucers that are just by themselves. They've been lost from the rest of the dinnerware, and they're just there. And so I like to buy pretty ones and put them under my plants. And this way, when I water them, it catches the excess water, but it also looks beautiful sitting on a table, and it's just a collected look that I just love. So when I'm at the thrift store, I definitely look for saucers. The other thing that I'm constantly on the hunt for are plates. I like plates to add to my regular dinner dishes that I have, but for the most part, I'm looking for plates to hang on the wall. So you can find some really pretty plates that you can hang in a set on your wall. But what I like to do is when I hang art on my wall, most of the time it needs just a little something extra. And so I'll find a pretty plate with those same colors in it and add it above the picture. It just adds a little something to it, and it's small so it doesn't take away from the art. I always look for little plates, so keep that in mind when you're thrifting. The way that I love to hang these plates, now you can always find those little hooks that go around your plates, but I like to put the little disc on the back, and you get the size that's right for your plate, then you wet the back, put it onto your plate. It's just like an adhesive. You put it on the back of your plate, and then I just let it sit overnight, and then the next day you can just hang it on the wall. There's nothing that you can see from the plate. I just love that it has such a clean look, and I've never had one to fall yet. Knock on wood, that'll keep happening and it'll stay on the wall. But that's what I use to hang my plates, and I absolutely love this idea. So the next thing I like to look for at the thrift store is art. And I love to find vintage art, and this could include anything that is an oil painting or a painting on canvas, or just finding prints in a frame that you don't care for and taking all that out, printing a picture on Etsy and putting it in that frame with that matte. If you don't like the color matte, you can always spray paint it to go with the colors in your house. But I did some horse prints a few weeks ago. I have a video on that, on how I did it. I just found some prints at the thrift store. Love the color of the matte, and I love the color of the frame. And so I just got some prints off of Etsy, put them in that frame and hung them on my wall. and they have turned out to be some of my favorite prints in my house. Other things I like to find is vintage oil paintings, and I love it when they're painted on canvas. And I have one hanging in my hall. It is such a beautiful picture. It has the linen border on the side of it, and it was in a big chunky frame, and I just took it out of that, hung it on my wall, and then I just hung some antlers above that, and up under it I have some flowers in a basket on an accordion hook. I just think that it adds so much to your home. It just makes it unique. It's just something that you found while thrifting. You can just add it to your home and have that collected look. The next thing that I'm always on the hunt for, and this is kind of new to me since we've moved into this house, but I have started collecting picture frames. And anytime that I go to a thrift store, a yard sale, a estate sale, I'm always looking for interesting picture frames. And if they're not the color that you want, you can always paint them. I took a picture frame that I found and I loved the texture of it. The color that it was is not the color that I wanted. And so I took some rub and buff. I just put it all over the frame and made it look like antique brass. I had another frame that was just kind of a yellow color, but it had these interesting details in it. And so I painted it navy blue, used some white wax, and made those details pop. And it's such a statement piece because it's so big. And so always think outside the box when you're looking for picture frames. They are everywhere in a thrift store. The next thing that I'm always on the hunt for are lamps. I love to get old lamps and change the lampshade on them. I have yet to find a lamp that I love the lampshade on, but you can always buy a lampshade, pop it on the lamp. I have a big lamp that I found. It was an orange color that did not really go with my house, and I wanted to update it. So I painted it blue, used my favorite white wax, got a shade from Target, popped it on it. I love it. So that's another thing to be on the hunt for, are lamps. And like I said, paint can change a lot of things. So keep that in mind when you're thrifting. So you don't always have to look at a thrift store. You can always look on Facebook Marketplace. Some of my favorite finds have been on Marketplace, and I found a brass lamp on there. It's a Pottery Barn lamp, and I found it a few weeks ago. I shared it here with y'all, but it's a brass lamp, and it cost me $20. New, it would have cost me over $200 for that lamp. It is one of my favorite lamps, which I say that about all my thrifted finds, but it truly is one of my favorite lamps, and I just smile every time I see it. The next thing that I'm always on the hunt for is small furniture. I always like to look for small tables because you always need a small table. Any room, you can just pull up a small table. I found a small round table at the thrift store. It is in my sunroom right now, and I put it beside my couch. I do have plans to strip it and make it match my room a little bit more. It has kind of an orange tone that I'm not really fond of, so I'll get to that one day. But right now, it's perfect in my sunroom. It's the perfect size, and I found it for $20 several weeks ago. And then since we moved into this house, I am on the hunt for furniture. We have a few more rooms in this house than we did in our other house, and a lot of our furniture from our old house did not fit in this house. And so I'm constantly on the hunt for furniture to go in this house. I did share a video recently of me finding my dream table for our den, and I had been on the hunt for a drop leaf table, but I wanted it to have interesting legs and just to be a unique table. And so I found this one. It was on Facebook Marketplace, but it was at an antique store that was in town. And so we went down and looked at it, and it was in perfect condition. It had the perfect legs, and I love it so much in our room. So I brought it home and put it in our room, and I still have a few pieces that I need to buy in there to make that room finished. It's not quite finished yet, so it's really hard to see my vision right now when I just share pictures of it. Hopefully I will find those pieces and add those to the room and get that room finished and share the whole room with y'all. I just wait for the perfect pieces, and I know it takes a while to do that, but you just have to be patient and look for those items, and just don't settle for the pieces you don't like, because in the long run you spend more money because you're not happy with how it looks. My advice would be to just wait until you find that perfect piece and then get it and put it in your room, and then it'll be something that you love, and you won't have to worry about it going out of style because it's something you love. In the long run, you spend less money because you have to change it less often. So the next thing that I'm always on the hunt for is brass. I absolutely love brass, and I love incorporating it into all of my rooms. Now, one of my favorite things to find are brass candlesticks, and they're getting harder and harder to find because everybody's on the bandwagon of brass candlesticks, and I don't blame them. But I love to add a lot of them together. I have a lot on my mantle right now, and it doesn't really matter if they match. They just are the same because they're brass, and I love to combine an odd number of them and put in my flameless candlesticks that I love so much, and just incorporate them all over my house. They just add a warm touch to wherever you put them, and so I'm always on the hunt for brass candlesticks. But I also love brass planters, and I love to propagate a pothos and have free flowers. You know, that's a great thing to do, is have free flowers, because I love house plants, and pothos are so easy to take care of. And so what I do is I propagate my pothos. If you're interested in that, I have a video telling you how I do that. And I just drop the pots into my brass planters. It adds so much to my plants, and like I said, it just adds a warm touch to your home. And since the brass is kind of worn and it has a patina, it just has a look that you can't get from buying something new, in my opinion. So I'm always on the hunt for brass, any kind of brass. I did buy a little brass turtle a few weeks ago. I shared it in one of my thrifting videos, and I just have it in my bathroom beside my soap. And every time I see it, it makes me smile. So always be on the look for brass. The next thing I'm always looking for are flower pots. And that, when I propagate my pothos, I always need little flower pots or flower pots to put outside. And I love old flower pots. And if you've priced new flower pots lately, they're very expensive. And I do like to buy a new flower pot from time to time. But when I find an old thrifted one, it just warms my heart to be able to get that. And I especially love old terracotta pots. They just have a charm about them. And when you have big ones outside with ferns in them or boxwoods, it just adds to the charm. I love to get small ones and put my pothos inside them, or you could always put a faux flower in them. They are beautiful with pansies in them. And so I'm always on the hunt for any kind of flower pot. One of my favorite thrifted flower pots of all time is the zinc flower pot that I have on my deck. And I love to fill it up with mums in the fall, and then in the summer I like to fill it up with geraniums and sweet potato plant, and then put a little bird feeder in it. I think that flower pot was $5 at Goodwill a couple of years ago. So always be on the hunt for flower pots and little containers that you can put a flower in. It doesn't necessarily need to be a flower pot. It could be any kind of vessel that you can put a flower in. If it doesn't have drainage holes, you can drill holes in the bottom. But if you don't want to mess up your container, you can always just put rocks in the bottom of it to catch the drainage so that your roots on your flowers don't rot. So that's a few of the things that I do look for in the thrift store. I hope these tips help you. Don't forget to check the link in my description box and download that free ebook that will help you with some tips when you're thrifting. And if you've never been thrifting, I hope that it helps you to go thrifting and find your treasure. As always, thank y'all so much for watching. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. And you can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and my blog, Our Contented Home. I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye.